go to the filter menu once you've opened an image and go to filter and down to blur and Gaussian blur. And that will blur the image. Gaussian blur creates a really nice blur. I think one of the better blurs. But what you can do, you can change it. Just make very subtle blurs. You can also push it here. Unfortunately, there's no other options. It'd be really nice if there were a few sort of additional ways of blurring within this, but it's never changed. So what you can do, you can set a value here, say enter 50, or you can maybe enter 100. Just really blur the entire image, but you can use this slider as well if you wish to use that. Click OK. And once you've applied it, you can see the final result there. But what you can also do is you can apply it again if you wish. Just go to filter and Gaussian blur, so you can apply it multiple times, exactly the same setting. So if you set it to 190 or whatever, it will be applied with that. But also what you can do, you can go to edit, and this is for all of the filters, fade Gaussian blur. So you can fade that last effect. So there you can turn around and say, well, just want it subtle. So you get a nice sort of dreamy, sort of blurry, sort of, you know, like a fog sort of thing there. Or maybe darken, or maybe go for overlay, and so on and so on. There's a whole variety of ones you can try. Linear light to create some very interesting designs just by that, and click OK. So Gaussian blur applied doesn't have to be a straight, just completely obliterate the image, but it can be useful for many things. So let's just undo that. What you can also do is you can go over here to layer, and you go to smart objects and convert to smart object. Now, as a smart object means it's non-destructive. The previous one was destructive, so if you did some other work, the only way you get back would be to undo it all. But now it's a non-destructive effect, and you can go to filter again and blur and Gaussian blur again. So just go there, and you can apply exactly the same setting if you want. Up to you. Just set it to 1,000. 1,000's the maximum. It's actually a weird slider where you've got 4.6 there and it's just 1,000 there. It's very strange. However, so keep it there, click OK. And now you can see there in the layers, you just go there to layers panel, you find that in the window menu, and you've got smart filters, and you can remove it. So just go to that section there, and you can just click there and you can remove it. But also you can change the blending modes there. You can also go here. With smart filters, you can change it and add a mask to that as well. So you can blur just part of the image, which is really quite nice. Also, double click that, and you can change blending mode. So you can just run through, say, darken, color dodge, and so on. And again, it's all live, so you can always go back to that at a later time if you wish. And that's just smart filters. But now with smart, let's just go back now to straight back to the start. What you can also do is, of course, you can always duplicate this design. So you've got this layers. You can always go to layer, and you can duplicate it. So duplicate layer, click OK, and you can resize it. Maybe if you want to resize it, maybe rotate it, and so on. So you can always apply a blur effect just to that layer as well. Just go to filter and maybe blur and Gaussian blur, and you can blur that. And of course, as it's a layer, what you can do, you can use blending modes. So you can just run up here to layers, and you can say darken, lighten, dissolve, gets a nice sort of noise effect there, soft light, and so on to create some very interesting combinations there. Another thing you can do, channels. Got here channels panel, that's in the window menu again. Just go down here to red. You can set that. As soon as you do that, you'll notice that goes grayscale, goes into grey. Well, you can apply a blur to that. So filter, go to blur. Now, not every filter, blur gallery is not available, but blur and Gaussian blur, you can blur just the red. So click OK. And of course, you can do the same with the green and the blue as well. But now you go back to red, the RGB, you've got just this effect instead of completely, utterly blurred. So what you can do, I'm just going to remove that now. There, you can also use selections. You don't have to blur the entire lot. So what you can do, just go over here to any of the selection tools, but I'm just going to use rectangular marquee tool. So I'm just going to say select this area, or maybe, of course, you can go to select and inverse. So you just now, the blur will be just applied to this. So you can always go to filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. And you can just blur around the edge there, click OK, and you've got your design there. And also there's a lot more, of course. There's always many, many other things you can do in Photoshop with Gaussian blur. Hope you found this of interest. Thank you much.